The Nerd Academy podcast is released weekly at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, available on our website at www.thenerdacademypodcast.com and wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also help support the show by going to patreon.com/The Nerd Academy podcast, where every donation allows us to bring you more exciting content every week.
I herald his beginning. I herald your end. I herald Cookie Cop. Good morning, class, and welcome back to the Nerd Academy podcast, your source for nerddom news and commentary. I am your host and superior webhead master, Jarod Bachman-Stubbs, and it is finally here. We finally have the Fantastic Four in the MCU, and I'm so goddamn excited to talk about it because I love this movie. Cards on the table right now. I love this movie. It is in my top 10 MCU, and it might be my favorite comic book movie of the decade. It's between this and the Batman and No Way Home. It's those three. Over time, I'm sure that opinion will develop, but that's where I'm sitting. So if you're just coming in to get quick thoughts, that's mine. But I am not alone. We are joined by our resident Green Lantern, Professor Travis Grossman.
That one felt good.
It was a crisp can crack, if I do say so myself. We don't just have Travis, we also got the fantastic Billiam.
Hold on. Can you hear that? That's bourbon. I can't crack anything open, but I think you can hear the ice cubes clinking. So happy to be here.
Fuck yeah. And then we are not alone. We do have a special guest, maybe two, depending on whether or not Armin is able to help solve his parents' technical issues with their new TV. We will be joined by him. But if not, we also have Mitch692 from the Mitch692 channel, my co-host over on Pro and Noob, and of course, co-host of the ComicBookCast.
You can't hear water in a thingy.
So
I can hear
who canonically is Cookie Cop going to force into labor to birth Armin?
Wow. Starting off strong. I like it.
Who is Cookie Cop bred is what I'm
Unfortunately, if we're using epic confrontations as a metric for anything, me.
Congratulations, Jarod.
Unfortunately. Yeah, unfortunately, I am the Cookie Cop thrall. It's come up before, is that I've joked to Eli, I'm like, when are we going to rip the Band-Aid off of the inevitable somehow Cookie Cop returned joke? I was like, we would be derelict in our duties as a Star Wars trivia league that is kayfabe entrenched, that eventually we do have to lean into the bit of bringing Cookie Cop back somewhat inexplicably. And he's not bid on it yet, but we'll
give
see.
it 20 years. It's fine.
Give it 20 years.
Yeah.
I still won't have a championship title under my
He's
belt.
finally become self-aware.
Just read the book, Jarod, and you'll be okay.
There will be two versions. There will be a Legends version of Cookie Cop's Return.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That will be eerily similar
to the canon version,
but more complicated than the canon version. But the canon version is only less complicated because we know less about it.
So Cookie Cop gets announced he's coming back in Fortnite, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No,
but
no, okay. No,
like,
you're objectively
narrated
wrong.
by Alex Jones.
Yeah.
Nothing can stop the return of the Cookie Cup, folks. But if a universe traversing god of consumption is about to devour your world and you have no other way to cope, there's no better way to drown your sorrows than with Sunday's Bloody Mary. You guys know the drill. Sunday's Bloody Mary has the most badass Bloody Mary accoutrement in the multiverse with their 3-time award-winning spicy mix, as well as their mild and traditional mixes if the spice ain't for you. I do not like Bloody Mary mix. I think it is vastly inferior to a handmade from scratch Bloody Mary. And that was the opinion I was willing to die for until I tried Sunday's Bloody Mary. It is the only Bloody Mary mix better than a from scratch Bloody Mary. And if you want to shake up your Bloody Mary game for the rest of your days until Galactus comes knocking, go to sundaysbloodymary.com/shop and use the code TNAP at checkout to get 10% off your order and help out your favorite nerds while you do it. Travis, we're going to start with you because you're on a bit of a, not a time crunch. You won't be gone for long, but we will lose you for a couple minutes here in the next 25 or so.
Thankfully, not to my power grid.
not because of the power grid. How are you feeling coming out of Fantastic Four? First steps.
I think I went in like trying to temper my expectations. I think I came out of Superman so high that I was like, I don't care if this movie's good, actually. I got what I wanted. I won. And I came out of this going, that was like on the caliber of Superman. It was very good. I loved all the characterizations. I loved this is not an action heavy movie, and I kind of really enjoyed that. And the same with Thunderbolts kind of had the same thing of like there's action involved, but a lot of the plot isn't based in action, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Or like the solution to that isn't based in like just direct fisticuffs. And I like that we're going that direction. I think that's a good way to be heading. This movie, I think, gains a lot from not being on MCU's 616, in my opinion.
Agreed.
You know, I talked not quite at length, but at length in the Superman review about how much DC gets to play with its setting. It feels like, at least it did in Superman. And that the MCU has tried to, and it's like maybe struggled a little bit based on how it started, you know? And just like Marvel struggles more with that in general because it's always set in real cities.
Yeah.
And this movie got the chance to feel stylized and feel like it's in a comic book world and be unapologetically a comic book movie like we've talked about. I just loved everything about it. Like I came out of it. I can see it's very fast, like Superman. It's a very fast-paced movie.
Yeah.
so
Brisk runtime in the pantheon of comic book movies, it's only a few minutes shy of 2 hours, but like
Right.
it's
an hour
still
44.
I saw a lot of people complaining about that and like saying that it didn't feel like they gave it time to breathe. But to me, like, and I knew that coming in, but then like sitting down and watching it, I was kind of like, it's kind of perfect. Like you kind of get everything that you need.
Yeah.
But like, there's definitely a 2.5 hour or to 3 hour cut of this movie that like goes more in depth. But like what they gave us.
That version probably doesn't make as much sense either. That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, true. But like, it feels that even though there were obviously things cut, I think what they like the meat of the movie works really, really well. And like, I think the brisk runtime is kind of a strength because like you for me, like you go in at like 7 p.m. and you're back home by 9:30. So like,
right.
I liked it.
Yeah, because I know people complain about like, oh, there's stuff in the trailers that is like clearly not shot for the trailer and not in the movie. And that only didn't bother me because I didn't watch like any of the promotional material beyond the first trailer. And so like couldn't have told you, didn't know. And probably better off for it. But
yeah. Nothing will ever be quite as bad in that regard as Rogue One, where there's like entire alternate versions of scenes that were in the trailers, as opposed to like, oh yeah, the brief John Malkovich subplot was cut. But no, for sure. I mean, I'm in a similar camp as you, Travis. Just to bounce off of what you were saying there, where it's like, it's not that I had doubts about this movie. I've obviously was very much on the record talking about being trepidatious about Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards, and we'll talk about his performance soon. But I kind of went into Superman knowing this is gonna be good. I knew it in my bones. Like I knew because of I trusted James Gunn's vision. I trusted very much in Corn Sweat as an actor and just everything that he was giving us in interviews, in press, and what we had seen in the trailers. Like I knew that movie was gonna be good. It was a matter of how good. And I came away from it just completely blown away and fully satisfied. And there was just something cathartic about walking out of Superman and going, finally. And with Fantastic Four, I think that I don't know what it is that I went in like, okay, let's see what they do, because I also knew that this was going to be great. But like, I didn't go in confidently counting chickens before they hatched, like with Superman.
Right.
And I don't know why that is. I don't know why that was. When the movie ended, I was like, I was ready to just walk right back in.
Yeah.
Like if it weren't for the fact that my ride would never do that, I'm psychotic.
Get a new ride. Just get a new ride.
Skill issue on your part.
Truly, I could have, truly, I could have just walked into the next showing, like with a smile on my face, just walked into the next one, and had a blast again, and the weekend did not provide the time to go see this movie a second time, and I so wish it had. And I'm really hoping soon, because my younger brother, he's not really into nerd shit. He never has been. Like, he's very much been a casual fan, someone who goes, oh yeah, that's fun. This movie's fun to watch. This is nice. And, got dragged along because it was, kind of a ritual with me, my brother, and my dad seeing shit on opening night. But he loves Superman. And he hasn't had a chance to see the movie yet, but he's very excited to see it. And he said he's very interested in Fantastic Four as well. And I was telling him, I was like, what we need to do is just set aside some time and do a double feature. I was like, I would love to watch both of these back to back, maybe separated by a dinner, or maybe separated by a lunch, at most. But I had a similar thing where I was just like, I was just so thrilled. The characterization, I think, is the thing that is sticking out to me personally, is just so perfect. And I have a lot of thoughts on that. I don't want to get knee deep in at the moment, because I know everybody kind of wants to do their, off the top of the head thing. But like, I don't know what it is that I felt differently going in, but I left so elated and just so pleased to the marrow.
There was definitely a difference in the press tour as well. Like, I just saw so much more stuff for Superman. And again, like, they had the legwork to do for DC and Superman that this movie really didn't. Cause it's like, from the jump, everyone kind of assumed this would be the good Fantastic Four movie. So they didn't have to sell it.
I would fight that. I think there have already been good Fantastic Four movies, but that's just me.
Valid. And I think I was obsessed with Rise of the Silver Surfer as a kid. Like, I had that shit on repeat. And was it because I was like 8? Probably. But
and that is the perfect age for those movies.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
Yeah. And fully acknowledging that.
And I definitely had a moment. It was like, because there's the thing of like, oh, they're not marketing this as hard, and they're not like locking in on these things. Do they not believe in the project? And I think maybe that's what it is. I'm not saying that 100%, but like, for me, it was maybe like, oh, maybe this is for them. This is another drop in the Marvel bucket. And it's not going to feel that way. And like, I'm not saying that's what they believed. I'm just saying that's what, like, I think the vibe I picked up personally of like, oh, maybe this won't be what we all expected. And then it was, and it was fun. Like, everything was great. So,
it's interesting because, like, overall, I feel like my thoughts are similar to y'all's. I walked out and I love this movie, but like, the things that I love, it's the characters, it's the world, it's everything that I think the nicest thing I could say about this movie is that like I think Jack Kirby would love this movie because like
Yeah.
it's just like so much of his original vision for the Fantastic Four that like it just I know people say this all the time, it can be cliche, but like it feels like just a story that jumped out of the comics. But like it's a cliche, but like it's right. I think the reason we love Superman, the reason I love this is because like it feels like a comic book. And you know, the problems I had with it weren't the characters or the world. It was kind of there were shortcomings in the story, I think, that just kind of felt a little, like a little underbaked, maybe a little bit. But like other than that, I think that like I went with one of my coworkers and his partner, and then with my mama, and like we all walked out and like we love that movie. Like, and we all kind of agreed that even though like it was kind of the story was a little weak, but like everything else about that world is just so refreshing from the MCU that we've gotten over the past like 3 or 4 years. And not to say that it hasn't been good. I think I've enjoyed most of the MCU stuff, but like it just felt like, wow, this is different. But it also feels like those characters interacting with like, the new Avengers, with the future that we're going to see in Doomsday, I think is going to fit really, really well. And I also just going off the, talking about Superman earlier and saying that like seeing those back to back, I heard somebody describe it as these are two like cousins. Like you can feel like the DNA like through it, like the hopefulness of like of that era of comics and what Superman is and what the Fantastic Four are. And like I totally agree. And so like I ended up really, really liking this movie, even though I not loved, but I enjoyed the old Fantastic Four that I grew up with Jessica Alba and Chris Evans and all that. But like this, it just felt like it was on a different playing field.
Do you guys think like talking about the whole like expectations things and coming out of it being higher than you thought? Do you think that has anything to do with, as I think it was Feige that said it recently, that it's the first like true standalone they've done for a while at least, where they are in their own 828 universe. There's no homework required. It's just here is this thing. They are the focus. There's nothing else going on around them. It's just everything is Fantastic Four.
I think there's something to that because like the montage at the beginning was one of my favorite parts of like the entire movie, because like it just felt like they did it in like 3 or 4 minutes, but I was like, oh, I really, really like this world. I really, really like that. Like, I like the aesthetic. I like all of that. But so I think there's something to what you're saying, and I agree.
Yeah, I would say for me it was at the ending, and part of it was like I think Thunderbolts tainted a little bit of that in the back of my mind, at least, where it's like, okay, how do we end up at that end credit scene? And so a lot of the like specifically in the ending sequence, which I will not say specific things, but there were moments where I was like, oh, this will happen, this will cause this to happen, and then we end up at the end credit scene. Yeah. And then there's an obvious, and then like in the moment of thinking of that, like, oh wait, no, there's an obvious plot device here that works within, like, is sustained within this movie. That's just better because it's within the like the story as is. And that happened for 2 major moments. That I'm sure you guys can figure out what it is. And if people watching this have seen the movie, but I'm not going to say it yet. I'm going to be good. I held back on the name. I'll reveal.
I know. I was like, we have not been good at the like first chunk of the episode will be spoiler hesitant, and we've not done that in a very long time. And I've like Travis set the tone of like, hey, we used to do it this way. I'm like, you know what? You're right. We'll honor that.
Because I think my jokes are funny, and one of them feeds a bigger point about this movie, but that's for later. But yeah, Jarod.
No, I think there is something to that. I think that aesthetically, the MCU is kind of painted into a corner. There are moments and there are settings within the MCU that can kind of go buck wild and do whatever the fuck they want, and have a very distinct visual language and visual tone. The broader cosmos with the Guardians, Wakanda, Asgard, those come to mind as like, we have the freedom to kind of go really big and larger than life. It is part of the Marvel. I don't want to say it's one of the curses or drawbacks or anything like that, but it's just, it's kind of part of the balancing act of Marvel in general, is that like it's New York City, it's Washington DC, it's San Francisco, where you are kind of tethered to, this is kind of what the world looks like, and they haven't really had the opportunity to do a story where like like Shadowland, where like, yeah, there's just a part of New York that looks like feudal Tokyo. Like they haven't really had an opportunity to just throw a fucking spiral down the middle and let that just be, yeah, there's a part of New York that looks fucking crazy. That hasn't really been in the DNA quite yet. They have an opportunity to do something like that. And I think that that's something that holds it back visually, but not to its own detriment. It's just part of the equation. So like Metropolis can look like this, be just shy of a city like New York is in this movie. Gotham has the excuse to, like the Batman does, let it be like, a little bit of London, a little bit of Chicago, that like turns it into this larger than life city that couldn't really exist in the real world, because like the architecture is so all over the place in this delightful way. That Marvel can't really do that. And I think that just this movie scores so many points stylistically that like even and like that's been like even like the kind of lukewarm reviews and takes I've heard on this movie all kind of come back to people thinking, the story's a little undercooked, or they don't really think, they think the characterization isn't that strong, which I think is crazy. And it's like those plotting and character things take a backseat to just the movie's so nice to look at, and it has such a distinct aesthetic that I do think there is something to that. This is kind of the first real standalone thing probably since Guardians. That kind of can just exist on its own. Its only real connection to anything is Thanos. But like, even then that's very tenuous and that's very, minor in the grand scheme of things. So I do think there's something to that. And there's something exciting about, getting, as much as I love that interconnectivity, it is a burden, you can't like it's a burden that is, stacked upon stack upon stack upon stack of blessing and reward, and being able to do the victory lap of building up to something like Avengers Endgame, and now we're building up to something like Avengers Doomsday. But once you decide that everything is in a sandbox and it's shared in a single sandbox, the sand has to look the same. And this movie is untethered from that. We as the audience know that it's going to build into the other thing. But this movie was given the freedom to kind of do some wild stuff unto itself that it otherwise wouldn't have been able to do. Like even if we do this fun sci-fi period piece set in the MCU 1960s, it's kind of hard to have like the cars look like cars from the 60s, but a little bit cooler, and all the ads and all of the, everything about, the world being at such peace.
And I would like, because when I talk about setting, obviously I think all of that's so important, and like the visuals of this movie are astonishing, like utterly breathtaking, and make me so happy. I'm sure made all of us like ecstatic.
Agreed.
But like the thing that I keep coming back to in my head is the scene. I'm going to talk about Superman so much for the rest of my life. Green Lantern sitting in a diner eating a bowl of cereal, right?
Yeah.
The MCU could probably get away with that now, but has built its back on every hero operating is some way involved with the Avengers. Like there's a 6 degrees thing happening here, so that it makes it so that when we introduce the idea of there's a caped person somewhere else, it's weird that they existed while Avengers was happening and were not known. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And like, that's why I'm kind of excited for the crisis event that we're getting to reset, so that maybe we can like that. I think that's the comic book aspect I've been missing and didn't know I was missing until like a little before Superman, but recently
Right.
of like,
Well-
the reason this feels weird is because of how like it is interconnected, and that's awesome. That's the MCU's brand, and it's such an incredible thing that like it's so nice to see that other side of it, and you can still have the interconnectedness. I tried to make up a word for a second and then made a real one. Look at me go.
Good at you. Look at you.
English, baby. That it's like, okay, now we can do both. Like we're gonna set ourselves in a position to do both, and that's what I'm really excited for. And like we get to have hopefully these characters, we'll see, in a not quite as 60s aesthetic New York, but like they're still gonna have the Baxter Building, and maybe the Baxter Building will still be that aesthetic, or parts of New York will still be 60s-ified or something. Like well, Johnny can go to a diner and eat a bowl of cereal with Guy Gardner.
Mitch, what are your kind of like generalized thoughts before we get into some more specifics here?
I really liked it. I do think it has it's the same problem I think I've had with every MC movie, bar maybe bar the Avengers movies, the last two. It does run through its plot. It is just, hey, here's a thing, bang, 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 bang. But even I found Superman did that as well. But overall, I did really enjoy it. I've got one issue with the cast that I wasn't expecting to have, and I'm kind of a bit gutted that I came out of this movie having it, but I'm holding a full judgment on it. But yeah, overall, it's the Fantastic Four movie I kind of wanted. Just to set everything, just set the record straight on a bit like Superman, right? Just set the whole record straight on who they are. Ben's not this miserable, lack of a better word, thing. Like in not every story he has, he's just down, depressed that he's orange and rocky. Like he actually has a personality. Right? Just stuff like that. That's my main takeaway. My main part I appreciate about the whole thing.
I also appreciated Chet Hanks wasn't his older brother and would beat the shit out of him, like in the Josh Trank version, which is like, and that's where his clobbering time comes from. We all know.
We all know.
It came from Chet Hanks.
One of like the Fan Four Stick, its clobbering time came from the fact that Ben Grimm was like traumatically abused by his older brother. It's like those are one of those sentences that doesn't sound real. Like that sounds like a bit. It sounds like a joke somebody came up with. But
it's perfectly emblematic of the comic book movies as they were like in the 2000s and early 2010s, sans the MCU.
No, absolutely. Well, if we're gonna get into the meat here, and this is kind of your warning to Anon if you've not yet seen the movie. I do want to talk about the characterization. You kind of gave us a good off ramp there, Mitch. In every conversation I've had, I said this on ComicBookCast. I said this speaking with a dear friend of mine, Michael Stanley, a man who has a very fake sounding name. Every time I've brought him up to some of our friends, the immediate response is that's not a real guy.
It's a South Park character. That's what it sounds like.
It does. It does. But I think the Fantastic Four, more than most like comic book characters, like long running comic book characters, more than most, has the highest risk of being flanderized into oblivion. I think it's very easy to take these characters and let Sue Storm be kind of a generic, kind of feminine voice of reason and have not much else going on, to let Johnny Storm be a showboaty, hothead kind of dipshit without much going on, for Ben Grimm to be a very surface level tragic brute, and for Reed Richards to be just kind of an oblivious dork. You know, I think it's really easy to just let that be who they are. And as much as I do like the 2005 Fantastic Four movie, I do like that movie. And rest in peace to Julian McMahon. Shouts out Julian McMahon. You know, I remember when I was a kid, I watched Charmed all the time with my mom. And then I remember when Fantastic Four came out, I was like, holy shit, Balthazar is Doctor Doom. Let's fucking go. You know, I do think revisiting that movie whenever McMahon passed, I want to watch it right fucking now. I do think that movie falls into that trap. You know, where like they are kind of underwritten, and that they don't go into the complexities of these characters. And at no point did I roll my eyes at the presentation of these characters. You know, at no point did I think they were being overly simplified to accommodate for the fact that you had 4 co-leads. You know, like, and I think that's also a testament to the strength of this movie and to the characterization, that I feel like the 4 were co-leads. You know, that they could and do share the top billing. It's just they have to be in a certain order, because you can't just put all 4 names on at one time. You know what I mean? And I really do appreciate that. You know, like the Thing, you know, that morning of looking like a normal human being, that the complexity is there. It's not just Ben hates himself because he's a giant rock golem. He gets to have a moment where, like, he loves his life. He loves this family. He's enjoying himself. He's smiling. But there are a couple moments where it's like, yeah, being a rock monster kind of fucking sucks. But hey, man, look at everything around me.
But also, if like you're a rock monster and then Natasha Lyonne also thinks you're hot, like that's like pretty cool. Like,
there is a bonus to it, yeah.
There is a silver lining.
You know, like Johnny is so thoughtful. You know, he's a little vain and he's goofy. You know, flame on, flame on, flame on, flame on. You know, he loves this shit. You know, like Johnny loves being the Human Torch. This shit rules to him. And yeah, he's a little vain. He loves his own action figures, and he's, you know, kind of like self-awarely, you know, a bit of a womanizer, you know, but not even a womanizer. He just loves women, you know, like he just, you know, like that's Johnny, you know, he's not this kind of creepy weirdo that he is with Chris Evans, you know, where like he's just getting really grabby with strangers, you know, like he is in that movie. And Reed, you know, this movie, I think, truly understood the quiet and complex narcissism of Reed Richards. Really, really poignantly. You know, like I almost just like started throwing shit in the theater out of excitement with what I think might have been my favorite scene in the movie, with the whole, you know, I have to have the bad thoughts monologue. You know, because that is who Reed Richards is, you know, and he's not just, you know, nerdy and brilliant to the point of being awkward and, you know, impossible to deal with socially sometimes. You know, like he walks around holding himself to a standard that like you can only do if there's a part of your brain that like has no self-awareness.
And it's so interesting, like you mentioning that, because like I really, really like Sue and Reed's relationship in this, because like it's a really, really subtle thing, but like he is so like, you know, like you said, the nerd, like very, very like, you know, analytical, thinking about the worst possible case, but then the way he says he calls Sue baby is just it feels like a very, very human like interaction, that like even though he is Reed, when it comes to Sue, like, baby, what's going on? Like, what do you need? And like, I'm scared. Like, it just felt very, very real, despite all the fantastical things happening around.
That actually took me out of the movie for a second.
Really?
Because it's just purely, that's not my idea of Reed. And granted, I haven't read the most Fantastic Four out of anyone, but like, the Hickman run, I adore that thing, but I can't see that Reed saying baby. But it fits with this one
Yeah.
And it's like I just had to double take quickly. Did he just say baby? Like, that's not my read. What's going on?
Well, here's my take on that. My laundry's done, so I'll be right back.
Okay.
Good take. Really
What's
good
his
take.
on that. But no, I do
Here's
like
my
the
take on that.
here's Travis's take on that. I do like the baby thing a lot, actually, and it's for a very silly reason. With all of the stuff in the interviews where Pedro was talking about having to be talked off of the transatlantic accent ledge, I could totally hear that being baby, baby, Sue, stay with me, baby. And
I'm kind of glad they
appreciated that.
talked him out of doing that accent.
Same.
Part of me, I wouldn't
What-
mind seeing it and hearing it,
Mhm.
but I don't think I could handle his entire career.
It depends on if he was going like more like JFK or like more like Departed, like or Goodwill Hunting. Like,
But
Now,
no,
very
no.
fine line would have to walk.
Sue Storm, you are my wife,
Galactus,
baby.
baby, really big Galactus.
I can stretch.
But no, I do what but you know, so those three, but then we get to Sue, and you know,
Not a nosebleed in sight.
not a nosebleed in sight, and even though that's not something I mind, like.
No, but it's the typical.
Is that
the
something
woman's
big in the
weak one
comics?
out.
Like she has a nosebleed every time she uses her powers?
that was
Okay.
purely just a Fox thing. So, she's the
okay,
woman. She's got to be
okay.
the weaker one, right? Because she's not
And
strong.
I
as
mean,
a
like,
man.
I don't mind.
Mr. Murdoch is at it again.
I think maybe my hot take is I don't mind that for Sue in the early days. If she is getting used to what is definitely a labor intensive power that is like really wooey, you know, like I can understand like, oh, like there's a psychosomatic metaphysical element to this that like manifests as that kind of physical strain. I don't mind that in her early career. 4 years in, I wouldn't have batted an eye if we got a little bit of a dribble while we're like manhandling
what
Galactus into a
happens-
portal.
I'll say with what happens, sure, it would have fit, but
Yeah, like moving a car out of the way and the nosebleed starts, piss off. But like you're manhandling Galactus into a portal, having a little bit of nosebleed. I was like, that would have been fine, but I'm glad they didn't do it. But what I really love about Sue is that like here you get how much she is the emotional core of the four and like like the emotional leader of the four, you know, and that her performance is so robust. It is so human. You know, I loved, you know, I was talking on the phone with my friend Michael. We were talking about this kind of element to it where despite how larger than life and fantastical the setting is, at its core, this is a story about a parent. This is a story about a parent who is going to put everything on the line to protect their child. You know, that it was giving shades of the mother lifting up a car type thing with the way she was just, you know, forcing Galactus back, just sheer willpower and brute force. And just how brilliant those moments were. I think one of my favorite line deliveries from Vanessa Kirby throughout the whole movie was the Johnny kill her. Like that, like that was like, and it's little moments, it's little beats like that I will always glom onto in a performance. You know, like just using a wildly different example, like Adam Driver as Kylo Ren. Like in every single sequel trilogy movie, he has like 3 or 4 like just little choices he makes that like make me obsessed with his performance in those movies. And there's a similar thing here with Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, where she just makes little choices throughout the movie, just little facial expressions, like while she's taking the pregnancy test. You know, like there's just little beats there that just fill that performance with so much life, that make her feel like such a real person. And another thing that I think they did so well, and you know, I was this is something I discussed with friend of the show Alden Diaz on over a game of Fortnite. where we were talking about how in a kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Counterintuitive way. Sue is the strength of the team and Ben is the sensitivity of it.
Oh,
You
that's
know?
good.
Yeah.
That when
yeah.
you just look at these characters, your mind goes, big rock guy is the rah, let's get him, gang. And that Sue has this tenderly motherly touch. But in many ways it is the reverse. And that, you know, it's and and that was what he described it. The way I was coming at it was like, you know, normally you have that member of a team like this who is the heart and soul of the team and is kind of a driving force who anchors them emotionally, morally. And normally that's one guy, right? Or one member. And with the Fantastic Four, despite this team being smaller than your Avengers or your Justice Leagues or whatever, the heart and the soul are split across two characters.
Yeah.
And it's Ben and Sue.
And I think for me, like talking about earlier when I was like, I think Jack Kirby would love this movie. A lot of the time, Ben was like the stand-in for Jack.
Yeah.
And I think that him being the like this despite being angry about everything as he's typically portrayed in the comics and portrayed in, you know, every movie up until this point, I think he would want to he sees himself as kind of a little more sensitive than that. And I think that's why that works really, really well.
But yeah, it's just very specific. Just Vanessa Kirby. You know, again, they said in the lead up, like, this is Sue's movie. You know, that previous Fantastic Four movies tend to center Ben and Reed. You know, that like Ben has this very obvious tragic element to him in the early days of the Four. You know, and again, like in the same way that like we don't need to see. We don't need to see Pearls hit the ground in Crime Alley. We don't need to see Uncle Ben get shot. We don't need to see Krypton explode anymore. I think it's well-tread territory to go in the immediate aftermath of the cosmic rays. Ben Grimm is not in a good fucking place.
Yeah.
You know, like that's well-tread territory. And I think it is important that if you're doing a Fantastic Four origin story to portray that, we're past that point. We understand that. It's so much more compelling now to look at a Ben Grimm who will never fully move on from that. Yeah. You know, it will always be a part of him that he doesn't get to be, you know, as thrilling and as, you know, kind of like ready for TV as his three teammates. But like to see a world that accepted him, you know, and I also love that like this world, on the topic of Ben and his self-acceptance and the world's acceptance of him, what I really love is that like the movie does not insist that all of the problems of 1960s planet Earth were solved by the existence of the Fantastic Four. There was just something in the water that made this world a better place, because like this world feels like it accepted this giant rock golem with a weird boulder unibrow way quicker than the Real World or 616 or the Fox or whatever, Fantastic whatever, ever did. That it just accepted this man and recognized him as a hero and recognized him as a selfless individual. And I just love that this world is what it is, that it is a testament to the power of teamwork. You know, that adage in the movie about, you know, sometimes we rely on small groups of people to accomplish the impossible, to help the world. And that's the only way things will ever get done, is a small group of people who just insist on doing the right thing. And I'm paraphrasing that to high heaven, but you all know what I'm talking about. Travis, while you were gone, takes on the characterizations of the Four, like specific stuff. I don't know how much of the conversation you could hear if you had your headphones with you or not.
My earbuds would not have made it down to the laundry room. Also, laundry not done yet. Very sad. Had to run it through and around to the dryer.
Brutal.
God rest my soul. No, I really loved it. This is the first. There were moments with Pedro where it felt like I was watching Pedro Pascal play Reed Richards and not just Reed Richards. That
Yep.
I had not seen in prior performances where I thought that would be. Like, I haven't watched The Last of Us, but I've seen clips and I've seen like enough of the show to know that like that man did actually become Joel from The Last of Us.
Yeah.
And again, when I heard the casting, I was like, I will never unsee Pedro Pascal. I will not be able to watch the show and think I'm watching the game. I'm watching Pedro Pascal. And there were a few brief moments in this where that poked out to me.
That's so funny because you and Mitch share that. And I, the guy who was going, Pedro will be good. I've never seen Pedro phoned it in, but I don't think I will not be able to just see Pedro Pascal. And I had moments where my brain remembered it was Pedro and went, holy shit, that's Din Djarin. That's Oberyn Martell, you know, where like I had the complete reverse and I was the one who was like boo-hooing this the most out of all of us. And that astounds me that we all kind of switched places.
It's annoying because sorry, Travis, you go.
Okay. They never took me out of it. I was never like, oh, this is bad because this is happening. There were just a few moments where I was like, and I've heard like he wanted to do an accent for it that they wouldn't let him do. And, you know, things of that nature where like maybe that would have helped. I think his commitment to always having I think he looks better with the facial hair, especially I love the mustache in this movie. I think it's perfect for the time. I think now that he has the same facial hair and like everything, that might also be contributing to the like he's the same guy and everything of it, which again, he's not. He's a wonderful actor and he does a great job.
Yes.
Beyond that, the same could have been said for any of these because these are all such accomplished actors that like they all ran that risk. It's just that Pedro is so prolific right now, but like I loved Eddie in Stranger Things. And when they said it was going to be Jack Quinn, I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. I get to see him in something else that I love. And then he was perfect. Like Johnny was my favorite character in the movie. I love that we circumvented the gross part of being a womanizer completely and didn't lose any of Johnny. Like, because again, it felt like they were like, okay, we can turn this dial down and to make sure that nothing is missing. We get to remind people that to be an astronaut, you have to be really fucking smart, right?
Yeah.
Like Johnny's a bit of a goofball. He's not an idiot. There's a very clear difference.
Yeah. And I don't know if you were still here when I said that, but 100%. Like it's like because again, in the other movies, he's portrayed as a creepy moron. You know, and here
now
he's
translating alien languages based off one like sentence. Like,
100%.
Which plays into the fact that he's so empathetic, right? Because like he can actually like that. It all plays in perfectly to him, and like how he uses that to his like he doesn't fight the Silver Surfer. He uses it as like a bargaining chip, right? It's not like, okay, I'm going to fisticuffs you and then do this. It's I need to like remind you of the humanity of what's going on. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. This is, you know, it is Sue's movie. That happens when you have a baby in a movie. And yeah, just it's the limiting factor. I think that a lot of, you know, the Batman, this movie, Superman, when you get to bypass the thing that everyone has seen and finally tell a story with a character, you get what we're getting with Ben Grimm, right? Like we aren't held back by the restraint of, well, this thing has to happen. It's like, well, what if it already happened? What, like, where's the natural actual story here? What's the plot actually happening here? No complaints. Everything was perfect.
So let me throw to you, Bill, real quick. How were you feeling about Pedro at the announcement of his casting? And how did it hold up for you? Because like I said, I was the one going, he'll be good, but I don't know if I'll buy it. Travis and Mitch were both, he'll be great, you're overthinking it. And now they're kind of where I thought I would be. Where are you at?
I was kind of in the middle where like I was like, okay, I really like Pedro, but like, is he the right person to play Reed? Like that was kind of where my head was at. And luckily, like I've seen so like I try to stay away from like reviews of like stuff before I go and review something, but like I saw some people like complaining about Reed, like his portrayal, and like I couldn't agree more, like agree less. That like I just any kind of reservations I had about him in the character are were kind of immediately gone, because like I think he did like he was able to do a like multifaceted like layered portrayal of Reed, from like talking about like being scared at the beginning, like when he like finds out that Sue is pregnant, and like doing like calling her the way he calls her baby, like once again going back to that, like it's and then to also be able to play like what Reed is like in the comics, and like him wanting to be better than that. I think he did a really, really great job. Like I don't know if he's like if he'll end up being like the definitive like Reed Richards, but like this version of Reed is awesome. And like it fits exactly in that world. And so like I was really, really happy with this portrayal. And like it's hard for me to criticize somebody that I think is super talented, even though like people like I always see the thing with like, oh, he's in everything, but like, yeah, because he's fucking good. And I
Right. Exactly.
This confirms, yeah, he's fucking good. So like
I will say I loved this characterization of Reed so much, because at every point where he was stumped, he didn't throw a tantrum. It's really easy to make this kind of character where they're the smartest person in the room, and then they get stumped, and it like they have to like whine or be
Hollywood falls into that he's slightly autistic trope, so he's got to be hyper autistic,
right. And the scene of him, like when they get back and they're like, well, what do we do? What are they talking about with the baby? And he's like, he rationalizes like, whatever it is so outside of my depth that like no one's ever thought to look for whatever this is.
Yeah. And like with the Galactus stuff too, like saying I could spend a decade on this and I wouldn't have even a little bit of an understanding. Like
that's the level of intelligence of like, I know my own limitations and I know the constraints I'm under, and I love and that didn't hold him back. And I thought that was really, really good. And also his conversation with Sue, the I have the bad thoughts monologue, I thought was a very good moment of self-realization of like, oh, it doesn't matter my intention right now. I've hurt you and I need to apologize.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with that so much. Again, we were saying, I think that this movie has a really good understanding about who Reed is, and like what the worst parts of Reed are, that there is that Reed can be very cold, and that it isn't, he's awkward, and it's, social cues and kind of like a, like I said, like the kind of like the flanderized, neurodivergent kind of interpretations of Reed Richards. It's like, no, like Reed again, like it's the quiet narcissism, right? That like, as I've said, I said on CBC, I've said, talking to people, Reed Richards is not a Tony Stark narcissist.
No, he's beyond that.
He's beyond that, but it's so much harder to clock because, in the same way, we talk about, actors, comedians, politicians, that it's like, if you think for even a second you can or should be doing this, there's something not working up here, and in some people it's easier to spot than others. And with Reed, and it manifests in such wholesome, beautiful ways, but it is still rooted in a narcissism, right? Where there is a sense of like, oh, I should have been able to figure that. I should have been able to figure out this shit would have given us superpowers. And the amount of people who have to tell him, Reed, stop. Ben does it and Sue does it. Where they both go, dude, please fucking chill. You know, but like it's because Reed expects so much of himself because he thinks so highly of himself. But I don't think, and this is such a crucial part of his fucking character, I'm so happy to see here, he doesn't understand how much of a narcissist he is. He doesn't get it. This isn't somebody who's like quietly, you know, worshiping their own intellect. You know, he has a legitimate God complex that he doesn't understand.
And it's coming from the place of, I have the responsibility to do good with this. So when I can't do good, when something goes wrong, it's my fault, which it's a narcissism thing, but like, it doesn't feel negative in the sense of that, oh, well, he's an asshole for this. It's like, no, he's thinking this because it's a guilt thing that he shouldn't feel. Like this is something he needs to work through, but it's a natural thing people feel all the time, regardless of, how it's happening.
So he lacks the self-awareness to understand exactly what he's doing.
And it makes
whereas a narcissist like Tony in Doom, like, they know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, and with them, it's ego. You know, like Reed, like his ego isn't bruised by any of the stuff that happens, but it's just he holds himself to this like insane standard that is just deeply unrealistic, and it just makes him so fucking compelling. And this movie gets it so right, you know. And like I had a moment here where I'm like, you know, you look at the list of people who were potentially on deck to play Reed, right? And that was the moment I fully understood what they were looking for. Like, I would not be surprised if the sides that were given for this audition, if anybody truly auditioned, and I'm sure screen tests were done, but like, you know, when screen testing was happening, when actors were given sides, and you look back and it's like, okay, Pedro got it. Matt Smith was in the running. David Tennant was in the running. Adam Driver was in the running. Yeah. You look at like this, like that group of 4 actors, right?
You can see where they're going with it.
I can see where they were going. And I would bet my bottom dollar they fucking gave them the bad thoughts monologue. I'm telling you, because that felt like that felt like the mission statement of this version of Reed Richards. You know, and then the more I think about these were the ones coming up at the end here. Driver, Smith, Tennant, Pascal. I'm like, it had to be that. And I would kill to hear how the other ones did that monologue. Truly. And that's not just me being an Adam Driver glazer. Like, I would love to see what that looked like.
Because I wasn't even thinking of Adam Driver. I'm thinking of Tennant or Smith. Like, as a Doctor Who fan, like that, I want to see what they would do, because like that's really interesting to me.
But yeah, and like I also just thematically, you know, like with regards to like the team dynamic that we were talking about a little bit earlier, I do also love, and this is something like normally I'm pretty good at going, themes on my first viewing. I was so kind of caught up in the world and the performances that like that's something I wasn't quite able to kind of lock in on, just because I was just loving how much just everybody was acting their ass off. And I was so kind of enchanted by it. But I do, as kind of like a vague theme, really appreciate, like, again, this world that is just so much kinder and so much more willing to work together. That it did feel very much like a statement on, you know, pitting collectivism up against like rugged individualism, you know, especially when you consider, you know, the 60s of the real world was defined by that conflict with the Cold War, you know, and you know, kind of like the worst versions of both being put on the world stage, you know, like the psychotic hyper capitalism of the United States versus, you know, like totalitarian communism in the USSR. That, you know, you juxtapose those two things and you kind of see the worst versions of it. Here you get the best version of collectivism, and believing in the team, believing in everybody as a working together as one gigantic unit and pit that against Galactus, who is a single being who has to do one thing for himself and himself alone to survive. And the only thing he will ever do to aid another person is hold them at gunpoint to help him do the thing he needs, or by punishment of death for their collective, and that like Galactus wants so badly to be free of this like giga individualism that he's like willing to like by hook or by crook in whatever way sacrifice a fucking baby to do it, and then he's like, oh thank God, let me rip this baby from its home and kill its family and damn it to live a cursed life like my own. I think it's very like that was kind of like the main theme I kind of glommed onto outside of like the obvious family things, and the power of family and how you can tap into it to do incredible things. You can tap into that to do some not so savory things, but in the name of protecting those you love. That was kind of like a theme I glommed onto. But yeah, fuck, I love this movie. And that said, moving to Galactus and Silver Surfer, again, Travis, I think you were the first person to invoke it earlier. The freedom of this era of comic book movie of movie making, of like, guys, here's a gigantic guy in a goofy purple helmet. Fuck you.
And you're all gonna lose your goddamn minds.
Yeah. Again, the ways that people have been afraid to do this kind of stuff on screen, that the obvious answer to, but people would think that was silly. Maybe, unless you play it straight, unless you play it right down the middle, unflinchingly.
There's one thing Marvel's still afraid to do, and they'll only ever do it in animation: the Kirby crackle.
Yeah, I just don't know how I agree with you. I just don't know how you make the Kirby crackle happen.
The same way you make Galactus work. You don't give a fuck. You just do it. It's just negative space. Just play about with negative space. We've had the Infinity Stones, for God's sake. Just do the crackle. That's what I asked for.
Hey, I'd love to see it too. Before we get a little bit into deep, Bill has to get going. Bill, final thoughts. If Galactus thoughts, and then final thoughts before you have to boogie on out.
As an eater myself, I get it. Big Galactus guy, big fan. I did like the Silver Surfer in this a lot. I think the ending of it like leads it to like him be potentially a villain in whenever they reboot the MCU, or maybe him showing up in Secret Wars. But I really like just like the voice of Ralph Ineson. I think that's how you say his name. Ineson. Thank you. I appreciate that. I think that he, unfortunately, despite being this humongous like entity and like all-encompassing thing, like he wasn't really given a whole lot to do, which I mean, that's probably like in the comics, that's probably what it is. But like, jokingly, as someone who is a fan of the Fantastic Four movies from the mid 2000s, him not being a giant cloud was a refreshing take. So like, this is the definitive take of Galactus in live action. So like, I'd love to see more of him, even though like, just like talking about the scale of like the movie and like, and all that, seeing like how big he was compared to everything else, like just made him this really, really menacing like presence. And so like, I appreciate that part of it, but like once again, to be the main villain and to like not really know like the main motivations besides just like I want to consume, like it felt a little like, and these are like the story things that I was talking about, that like despite loving this movie and like walking out like thinking like, oh wow, this movie rocks, it felt, this sucks to say, but like it feels like, you were talking about earlier in the mid 2000s, that Fantastic Four and being a little underwritten. I think if anything is underwritten in this, it might be Galactus and like getting to know him a little more. But hey, what do I know?
And so he's an interesting one because if you look at it as in the sense of this is like a natural disaster movie, it works a lot better than Galactus as a character because he doesn't really have one anyway. He's a really cool thing to have just happen to the Fantastic Four and to Earth. But,
that's what I got. I got to duck out. Love y'all. Y'all are
Love you,
fantastic. See y'all soon.
She says, Trevi, you work too hard. Anyway. Bill does this thing that I love so much about him when he's on a show where he doesn't exit the StreamYard. He just closes his laptop and has created the iconic Bill Sheehy dick shot. Unfortunately, he was using his desk that time, so he didn't get it. But it just bothers me because he's like has this a little empty window in the StreamYard and it bugs me. But no, I mean, with regards to what Bill was saying, Mitch, I agree with you. I think Galactus works best as a character when he is simply a force of nature.
Yeah.
Unless
you're going to show the actual origin of how he started.
Unless we're going to tattoo, there's no business. But as we kind of move forward here, I kind of want to look to the future. I want to look to Doomsday. I want to look to beyond. But before we hit Doomsday stuff, I want to say, I said this on CBC and I stand by this. We are 100% getting the Maker in something. And I don't think that you capitalize on the Reed Richards, I have to have bad thoughts, I have to ponder bad things without eventually wanting to lean into, and this is what it looks like when that isn't led by compassion. And it is a more negative narcissism where he has more in common with Doom that makes up those uglier parts of what Reed can be. I really, really, really think we're getting the Maker, and I've seen people do the whole it should be Miles Teller, lol. I hate that.
I think it should be.
I don't like the Miles Teller thing. Ian Rutherford, I think he's great. I don't need him. I wanted to be Pedro acting against Pedro. Because I don't think Pedro has been given a legitimate chance to play evil. With all of his roles, he has been
I don't know, Joel.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't know enough. I know what happens in The Last of Us, but even then, that there's a moral ambiguity to the decisions Joel makes. That I mean, the Maker, monologuing, I am an evil genius, and you are all a bunch of fucking ants. Get out of my way, type evil. I would love to let Pedro do that. Now, granted, the issue we might run up against is at the end of the multiverse saga, the next Fantastic Four story, having to pull a Reed from an alternate reality might annoy people. But fuck you, do tricks on it. I don't care. I want it.
I can't remember if I actually said it on the CBC one, but the time for the cancel of Reeds is directly after Secret Wars. It is directly after you have a universe or multiversal collapse. That's when you have the arrogance of the Reed collective going, no, we are going to take over that Kang role and assume that responsibility. And then you get the Maker.
And I agree with you on that. Because, Mitch, that's when you and I were talking about how we want the Fantastic Four, at the very least, Reed to be kind of the only people who remember what happened for whatever reason. Maybe they're inculcated from the psychic reset that comes with this, because of their proximity to Franklin. You can power cosmic omega level gooply goop your way through that. I don't give a damn. But I do love that, because I love the idea of our Reed, the real Reed, going, yeah, there's no multiverse. And again, that narcissism kicks in where he's like, oh, they can't handle this knowledge. I have to know this. I have to hold on to this.
Mhm.
You know, and then you can juxtapose that with somebody like the Maker going, well, yeah, all of these people are so fucking dumb. They didn't understand that when the first, creature to walk the earth made a choice, that was the beginning of the multiverse again. The first time there was a situation where one of two things could happen, the multiverse was born again. That like you have one of them who's like, oh, I have to burden myself with this versus I'm bigger than all of this. And I think you get to maintain this really interesting theme where the Fantastic Four is kind of embodying this collectivism and how its leader, despite believing in the team so much, burdens himself with so much, as opposed to somebody who sees themselves as beyond all of it. But I do think we're getting the Maker down the road, and I hope I'm right. I truly hope I'm right.
If it is my way, it would be Humans, Maker. That's the trilogy.
Yeah,
It won't
because
happen.
in the Mutant Saga, they're definitely going to take another detour back to the Inhumans.
The Fantastic Four Explorers explore the moon.
Hey, I'm not saying I don't want it. I'm just saying I don't see it happening.
It's not gonna happen. You don't have to tell me that Feige doesn't want to do the Humans. Okay, that's
How terrible
I'm
would you
suffering.
feel if they announced an Inhumans movie and then it bled into a TV show again?
I had to get back to you on that one. Where people go like, "Oh, in this situation, I do X, Y, Z." It's one of those you don't know. You can't say for sure. That's one of those situations.
If you would accept that you got something, or if you would just go mad.
I think it would depend on the cast. If it's another like ABC Humans, I'd be upset. I'd be very upset.
Are you saying that you feel that it was a great cast that got wasted, or that you weren't in love with the cast and that would upset you on spec?
A bit of both. A bit of both. No.
Live look from the future when Inhumans gets announced and canceled again.
Maybe I'll walk out of here tomorrow and you never see me again. That's really what I want to do.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, check out the most recent episode of Pro and Noob. Right, ladies and gentlemen. But Travis, before we jump into the future stuff, you said there were like two specific moments you had in mind earlier. What would you like to speak on that before we get way too in the weeds about post-credit bullshit?
Yeah, so one of them was two names. So I'll tell you the names and you'll figure it out. One of them was if I had a nickel for every movie where a crazy comic book thing happened in front of a black hole, I'd have 2 nickels.
Yes.
Which that wouldn't have fit down here, but
I've only just noticed that. Yeah,
I felt, and the thing is, the scene did the same thing for me. Where like in Superman, it was, this is the most comic book shit ever. Superman is super breathing his way out of a black hole with Metamorpho's green infant son in his hand, and in this movie, it was Sue Storm is giving birth in space as they catapult themselves around a neutron star, trying to dodge a silver person on a surfboard moving at light speed. And like in both instances, played entirely straight, and I loved it so much. The next one was Sue clears no diff, because I've seen so many people complain that Sue Storm soloed Galactus, and so Superman becomes the literacy test of do you understand like basic themes in movies. This movie is now the literacy test of can you read a sentence. For me, if I talk to someone about this movie, like I just didn't like that Sue Storm soloed Galactus, I'm gonna punch him in the mouth and keep walking.
So we've reached like people who have never read a Legends book talking about how powerful Revan is territory.
Yeah.
Because like this is the shit. God damn it, Travis. Fuck. Okay. This is the shit I hate. When a goddamn nerd, some unwashed, deodorantless, dirty ass, fucking knuckle dragging virgin watches a fucking movie or a TV show and a cool fight scene happens and they just make shit up that didn't happen. That might be the thing that sends me the biggest rage ever. It is the Rey has no training, but she beat Kylo Ren and killed all the guards. And it's like, she got her ass kicked. Like, literally, like, watch the throne room fight, unless you're too busy watching for the millisecond where the knife disappears. Like, watch the throne room fight to, like, Kylo Ren has, like, 6 guards to her 2. Like, you're just making shit up. What do you mean she soloed Galactus? Reed had to rubber band his way up his back to like crack the plates off of him and soften him up.
Like it's
she also died.
She died.
Like,
she fucking died.
Like there's 2 ways to say this. Sue pushes Galactus and he falls into the hole and that's the end. Or you can say what happened where Sue goes into a motherly rage, a thing very famous where women can just lift cars.
Yes, I was saying that. I don't know if you were here. Like, this is the fucking mother lifting a car.
Yeah, like she does the equivalent of that with maybe one of the most busted superpowers of all time, and still can't get the job done by herself because he is able to stop her from pushing him. So then the thing has to level a building.
Just fully drop a skyscraper on him.
Yeah, and it requires Reed to grab the baby, or else it was all for nothing. And Johnny has to time the portal perfectly, and it still fucks up, and they still need to make the sacrifice. And thankfully, the plot works out. The Silver Surfer's there to do it, but like, and then Sue dies.
She hits the JoJo pose before she dies, though. Like,
yes,
she
yes, she
properly
does.
backs. Cracked me up. It's like, duh, duh. It's like, oh my god, Sue, go
on.
Perfect.
So like, no, Sue Storm did not solo Galactus.
God, I'm so fucking angry right now.
I've seen it.
God.
I've seen people saying it, and they're stupid and wrong.
I've not seen any. Again,
No.
What is this weird thing that's happening in the two most recent episodes of the Nerd Academy, where Travis and I are switching places? Where like he's a little bit more fiery than I am in certain places, and now he's the one finding the dumbest fucking discourse before I do.
I've found myself. We've talked about this with particular things where like I'll look up reviews now as the like I know this is the baseline for people, like in the way that you could have watched CinemaSins in 2013, and we're not exceptions to this. We're like, this is the take people are going to have about this movie forever, or at least for like while this is still in the zeitgeist. I have my lock on a couple of people that do that.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, what are they saying? What's the consensus going to be? Am I going to have an aneurysm every time anyone I know in real life talks about this movie? I'm afraid I might. The last one was the power cosmic is just being uncanny CGI, because the scene once Sue is dead and like, you know, Reed can't revive her. They've accepted what's happened. They pass Franklin to put him on top of her body. That
starts flipping through the thing.
Yeah, it's not great. And so like I was like, oh no, that's not the bad CGI. That's just and that's the only time the effects in this movie were not impeccable, I will say. Like at every other point in time, no issue. Everything looked incredible, looked perfect, no issues. In that moment, I had to say, no, it's just the power cosmic. And then we're done. We're good.
I mean, Marvel did that for however long the power cosmic's been a thing for. Just like, explain away like that. That's fine.
Yeah.
Power cosmic.
The only thing I've seen so many people going, now Marvel has been stretching the definition of what the power cosmic is in this movie. And I'm like, the power cosmic's power is to be whatever the fuck the power cosmic is. Like,
it is a wizard did it. It's just the word for that. It's a wizard did it. Cool. Get on with it.
Yeah, those were my moments. I'm so prepared to have to talk to people about, I just wasn't into how Sue Storm was able to one-shot Galactus, and it's like, oh, you mean how a person from the Fantastic Four worked with the Fantastic Four to beat the Fantastic Four villain? And still didn't?
and fucking died while they did it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Travis, it makes me so happy that we've been doing this show for 5 years and now you have your own Star Killer base fight that you will get into fisticuffs over with somebody.
It's from my deep hatred of power scaling now that I've come into as as someone brought up on Dragon Ball, as all of us were a little bit, that there comes a point where either you fall to the power scaling of it all and think that that's what media is, and also shit your pants on a regular basis, or you just have media literacy.
I just don't get, this is such a non sequitur. I just don't get how power scaling has trumped more interesting versus conversations. I really don't. And maybe it's because my main exposure to those kinds of things were with the really thoughtful Star Wars fans, Spencer and I talk about when we do the Versus series all the time, where it's I don't agree with a lot of the fucking opinions that those YouTubers I watched growing up that they have now about the new stuff. They're entitled to their opinions. They aren't fucking weirdos about it. I just think they're wrong and just not willing to give the new stuff a try because of how married they are to the old stuff. And they're allowed to have that opinion. I give them all the credit in the world that they could have very easily turned their channels into content mills about why Star Wars is bad now because Rey is more powerful than Revan or whatever the fuck and whatever. They get praise from me for not being weirdos about it. But I remember watching all of these videos, getting into the nitty gritty, very minutia stuff about the Jedi martial arts and how they stack up against each other, and the rock paper scissors of it all, of Count Dooku dog walks Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan has Anakin's number and Anakin can beat Dooku, but there's nobody who just trumps each other like that. And that's that. And that's always the best triangle to use of A beats B, B beats C, but C can't beat B, but C can beat A. Those conversations are so much more interesting than just vomiting a list of feats that are poorly researched to then just assert that somebody can solo. I don't understand how power scaling versus let's see how these actually stack up, because in a vacuum that means nothing.
Yeah, it's the death battleification, and the Cinema Sins did to movies what Death Battle did to to versus content, I guess. Because if you want to talk about poorly researched, man, every time I try to watch a death battle, I don't anymore for my health, but every time I've tried, it hurts.
Death Battle's biggest sin is its maximalism.
Yeah.
Death Battle refuses to take a character from an era. I remember the first time I had watched Death Battle, I was a teenager and I just watched a bunch in one go, and I watched Luke Skywalker versus Harry Potter. And I was so confused by the fact that they just took Luke Skywalker keeping his Shoto lightsaber on him as a given.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where in the fight, Luke loses his green sword and goes, well, I'll still have a second one. It's he doesn't carry that with him. He used that to fight one fucking person. And the only other time he picked it back up was when that person came back. That is not a part of his loadout. It's saying that oh yeah, well Batman versus Thor. Well, Batman has the Hellbat armor. Bruce doesn't just wear that every day.
Yeah. Well, it's oh god. So I don't know if you're ever going to cover Naruto on Pro and Noob. Am I allowed to spoil a Naruto thing, Mitch?
Jarod will forget. Sure, go.
All right. Do you know who Kakashi is?
Yeah,
Jarod.
Yeah, because they did Obi-Wan Kenobi versus Kakashi.
Yeah, so Kakashi wears the thing. He has one special eye. At the end of Naruto, he gets the other one for 15 seconds. And he's the most cracked person in Naruto for 15 seconds. And then he loses both of those eyes. And then he's no longer the most cracked person in Naruto. And when they did that fight, guess what they gave Kakashi?
Yeah. So, the other thing that I hate about Death Battle is like, and again, like this is where it just becomes meaningless to me in terms of like the analysis, where it's like, you know, feats and combat are fun, but at the end of the day, like character dictates combat. So when they take a character like Spider-Man or Batman and they go, oh yeah, for the sake of this experiment, their no kill rule isn't in play.
Yeah.
That fundamentally changes how these guys fight.
Yes.
If Spider-Man doesn't have a no kill rule, he wins in one punch. That is the whole point of the auto punching off Scorpion's jaw moment. If Batman doesn't have a no kill rule, we like he's not going to use his hands. It's all gadgets. We're using the grappling hook to like hang people, which of course Batman does to Captain America and Batman versus Captain America. But like so much of like how these characters operate in a combat setting goes out the fucking window if you remove something like a no kill rule. You know, like it's God, fuck.
So like by this metric, yeah, Sue appears more powerful than Galactus, or the power of family and collectivism banded together to push back Galactus. Maybe that was the point. Maybe they rallied behind Sue, this person that needed them. For the thing that brought everyone together was Franklin. Like the thing that brings the public back to them is her being like, obviously I'm a mother, I'm not going to give up my child. Obviously, that doesn't mean I'm letting you all die.
Best
results
line.
in. Oh yeah,
I'm not going to sacrifice the world for my son, but I'm not going to sacrifice. Or I'm not. Yeah, I'm not going to I'm not going to sacrifice my son, my world for the son. I'm not going to sacrifice the son for the world either. Like it's so good.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Also, with Galactus in that moment, he's off his feet. He's off his feet. He's in the air. He's holding a child. He's like, oh, what do I do? Hold on to him.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's also
I can't do anything right now because I'm being like levitated.
Well, that's also one of the like compelling things about somebody like Galactus, especially like things you have to take into consideration when you talk about like versus stuff. Is like there are some characters who don't lose, who when you put them in a situation where like they have to exert even a little bit of effort, they don't know what to do. Like, you know, it's like that, and that's always a compelling thing to me is like what happens when this character who can normally steamroll through a situation starts to panic. You know, like it's like, you know, Darth Sidious, you know, versus series stuff. Like he's hard to use in a versus situation and like in like a show like that, because as a character, anybody who can match him will probably beat him. But that's because everybody else, he goes through like a hot knife through butter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but if you pit him against somebody who can match his speed, match his power in the Force, like the wheels fall the fuck off. Like look at the fight in Revenge of the Sith. I maintain that Sidious won the fight against Yoda. And that's not just me being a hater. Like I do maintain that stance. But like the moment Yoda is able to match him when he's like absorbing the Force lightning on the Senate pod, you can see in his face he's starting to freak out. He's like, the wheels are falling off. People aren't supposed to be able to do this with me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the same is true of Galactus. You know, he's literally, he eats planets. Yeah. What the fuck do you mean someone pushed him back? You know, like, of course he's going to freeze. You know, that's what people do. That's what people like him do. You see that in combat sports. You know, like someone will get a haymaker delivered right to their chin. And if it doesn't knock them out, they're stunned. A, because that doesn't happen to them. And B, like it's just the shock of the moment. And then you get followed up with, I don't have an answer for that. because my whole world is built around I don't get fucking hit in the face.
Yeah.
And congratulations, you just got hit in the face. It's the Muhammad Ali quote. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. Most people get punched in the face, so they have to live with that. The people who've never experienced that freak out because they don't know what to do. And that's what happened with Galactus. But God,
Sue clears no diff.
Sue clears no diff. I need something harder than a Diet Mountain Dew after you said that. That pissed me off so much. I need liquor right now.
You're welcome.
But hey, you know what? At least it's not Kathleen Kennedy nerfed lightsabers in Soul Calibur 4. You know that I think that is the dumbest take we've talked about on this show. Like in 5 years, that is the worst one. That is the worst one.
Is that a challenge?
Don't go looking for anything. My heart can't take it. But after that fun little non sequitur, the post credits, I think we all knew Doom would be in the post credits. Like I think like that's something we've all talked about both on CBC and on TNAP is like, you know, I think we all agreed he's not in the movie proper, but he will be in the post credit.
Yeah. He has to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't not have Doom in a movie in any capacity before his movie comes out.
Yeah. I knew it was coming. I knew the moment Sue walked away. I could already feel in my bones what the shot would be. It did not change the fact that I sucked all the air out of the room, man. I so excited by it. We talked a lot in the past about, if we're going off the 2015 Secret Wars, Doom needed the Beyonder and Molecule Man, right? And, we were talking about, well, Loki is probably going to be one of those. What's the other one?
Franklin.
And it's going to be Franklin. And I don't know. The post-credit scene excited me so much. It was just so, just getting to see it felt so real. And I feel like part of why I left the theater so excited beyond just loving this movie was getting to live in the excitement of we are on the path to a new Avengers movie. I think was also something that just lit me up.
You mean on the road, right?
Let me hold on. I don't think anybody could see it. Let me ding. Stay tuned, everybody. But yeah, how were you guys feeling about the post-credit scene?
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I kind of wish you just saw more of the suit because I'm not judging it. I'm holding off. I think it looked a bit cheap. I also recognize it's not going to be the only suit he has. He is going to have another one, but it's fine. It's totally fine.
I once again expected the end credits scene to bleed into the end credits scene of Thunderbolts, which didn't take away from the moment.
No.
In fact, it almost added for me. There was a point of wow, we really don't have context for that moment now. And I love that. Yeah. I prefer that.
Yeah.
Going in. We have all of the things. I wonder how this would have hit. So again, obviously we know that this has been the plan since before Quantumania, end quote. And has been the plan since before we lost Kang to the mean streets of the court of law. And and so nothing makes me happier than when I get everyone to break like that. That makes me
sensational. And that's his word.
I live for that.
Oh, man.
But like, I wonder, in a world where we're still on the road to Kang Dynasty, and then again in that world, I think it's the kind of the fake out they did with Thunderbolts and the New Avengers, and I say fake out loosely, where maybe during Kang Dynasty it would have been like, oh, actually, this is Avengers Doomsday. That they wouldn't have announced that we were getting like that we had a Doctor Doom cast in some way. And this would have hit a little harder because like the way the scenes post, you don't need to know who's there. Like obviously we know who's there, but like, or who's supposed, obviously it's not really RDJ, but like
No, it is.
Like it. I don't mean like,
too. Or do you mean it's not actually Victor Von Doom? That it is Tony Stark.
No, I mean that it's not the literal person Robert Downey Jr. That it's a stand.
Oh no, it is. No, it is him.
Okay.
Yeah, they said it was RDJ in the suit, which is even cooler.
Yeah, that
it makes
is
it
cool.
funnier because you
don't see him.
Why not show his face?
Yeah, it's the thing of like, I expected it to be like, no, this is the character RDJ will be playing, but it's just a stand-in for now because obviously it, whatever.
I was the same way. Like when I saw it, I was like, that is absolutely standard. There's no way that is RDJ. They could not have kept that hidden, but apparently they did. So kudos, Marvel.
I mean, they could have easily just shot that as they started doing stuff for for Doomsday and just kind of snuck it on. But the I wonder if they would have kept that hidden. This would have fueled the like, no, Doom is really going to come in. We're really going to get Doom to be the secret villain. But it was still cool.
It was. I really like the framing of it. It's just so eerie and foreboding. I also like that this universe doesn't ever really like acknowledge what is up with their Doom, if there is one. Like I've gone back and forth between there is a Doctor Doom in this world and there isn't. Because that Latverian seat is open, but they also have their little tryst through all the people they've defeated and all the villains that get name dropped. And at no point do they go, yeah, we got to worry about Victor because who the fuck knows what Victor might be up to. They never do that. They never mention him and what he could be doing, but they also never it's they just leave so much open to interpretation that I really, really appreciate and will kind of scratch my head about for forever. And I love it for that.
Hopefully not forever. No.
I mean, I also don't know how much weight, whether or not a Doom exists in this world, how long that will ever be important for. By the time we get a reset, like who the fuck knows?
Yeah, but I think if you're gonna do, because Doomsday's gonna be Infinity War, right? It's gonna be Doom's movie. Right, so you're gonna have to find out about Doom's backstory at some point. Also, whether he is in 828 or 616, I doubt it's 616 to be honest. But where he specifically comes from, I think you're gonna find out.
I don't know if I've said this on the show. I think I've said it to Jarod. There's like a deep, trolly, like deranged part of my soul that so badly wants this to be Victor Von Doom, and no one's ever gonna mention that he looks like Tony Stark. Like there's a sick and twisted part of me that wants to live in the world where everyone that we know is gonna complain that they don't bring it up.
Yeah.
Because I think it's the funniest outcome. Like, no, man, that's just Victor.
Yeah.
And
I hope they
like
do, I kind of hope. I think I'm with you on that one. All right, that's just not because you can. I've been doing it the last couple of days. I don't know if either of you have seen it, but RDJ's been posting very.
I've seen you. I've seen you showing off how much ball you know.
And it's like, motherfucker, that's not Doom in that issue. That's an issue specifically where Doom traps Iron Man in hell. Like, there's something, either he's alluding to something or he's just baiting people. and it's going to go either way.
I've done my prediction 1,000 times. I've actually been thinking about doing a video that's just me laying out my Doctor Doom prediction, and kind of mapping it out. And who knows? I might make good on that threat here soon. But I do think it's Evil Tony. That would be very funny. What I also like is, Kevin Feige did his whole thing after Thunderbolts came out. We got that post-credit scene. It's like a one long Richard hair on my microphone.
Short and curly or cat? No.
Huh?
Short and curly or cat?
Cat.
You can't say Richard hair and get away with that.
No, I can, because it's a well-known fact that I have a little bread-colored boy named Richard.
Sure, but that's how you get away with it anyway. The cat hair mover.
Either way, there was that whole thing where everyone was like, "Oh, the Fantastic Four's in their spaceship and the Thunderbolts post-credit," and Kevin Feige was like, "Oh, we don't know who's in that spaceship now, do we?" And I was like, "Well, that's a weird thing to say." And I never thought much of it. And I don't know why it never occurred to me that it might just be Doctor Doom.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because again, I was just like, "Oh yeah, Doom's just dimension hopping. He doesn't need a ship."
Right.
Then
there's that. Yeah.
There's like, oh, he has a thing. He has a thing to do the thing. And that was kind of my assumption from the jump.
Yeah,
and
but if
after
this is
this post-credit scene, I'm like, oh yeah, that's Doctor Doom in the ship.
Yeah, like if this is 828's Doom, presumably, then and Reed has cracked multiverse theory, quote unquote. Like he's like,
it was
this
nothing.
like he's like, this is a thing. I don't give a shit about it, but it's a thing. Moving on. Like that means that Victor Von Doom in this world has likely also cracked it and is likely, oh hey, maybe I could become God. Maybe I could be
question mark.
Everyone's God everywhere all the time.
That's funny. I think it's so funny that you think, not funny that you think. That sounds incredibly fucking dismissive. I don't think this is the Doom from this world. Like, I just truly think that Downey's Doom is like from another fuck you universe.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna do this is Victor Von Doom and no one fucking talk about how it's Tony Stark. I don't think that's what's gonna happen. That's what I want to happen because it's not good and funny.
No, I know that. I just mean I don't think the Doctor Doom we see in the post credit is even from 828.
Yeah, I think that's a very valid chance. I mean, regardless, like Doom doesn't need to be from in the way of like most things in this movie where it's like, well, how did they get this? And it's like, well, Reed Richards exists. Like you don't need to explain much further than that is why they have a certain technology. Yeah. Whereas like Doctor Doom exists, he can multiverse hop. How he does it?
Yeah.
But
I mean, we see, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is like, oh, magic is kind of the only real way to do it. We have, kind of wildly, we haven't seen a scientific way to multiverse hop.
Yes, we have. There's been 2 seasons of it and a movie.
I mean, that's more framed.
TVA literally had.
I know. I understand that, but that's more framed as like the time travel-y, like we're going back in time, or like that. That's framed as like
they're the same thing, right? Because that's what Endgame says. Like they time travel back to the past, but it's not their past; it's a completely different reality. That's why you then get the alternate Loki who takes the cube and gets caught by a TVA. It's all the same thing. It's not.
I mean, I guess I am kind of splitting hairs where like one is framed as time travel and the other one is like as opposed to like explicit, like I'm going to open a portal to a different Earth. And that's what
they also go get Sylvie, and unless Loki is beyond incest, it's self-cest even more. No.
I think the framing, I think like they are unknowing. I think I agree with both of you, I guess, that like the framing is they're time traveling and that this is going to be a closed loop. And in reality, they're multiverse hopping and don't know it yet.
Yeah, I guess for me, like it's like the intent of like I'm not trying to travel through time. I am traveling through the spaciest of space.
Yeah,
is what I'm getting at. Is that like Tony? And again, Tony Doom could that could be another flex of like, oh, you guys thought you could only do it this way, ha ha ha. Let me
Doom
use this.
chair.
Let me hop in my Doom chair. Let me use this like TVA time watch as a fucking paperweight. Kind of.
You spent
flexing.
money on the Kang chair. I'm gonna rebrand it quickly. Make it silver and green.
But no, I'm very excited. Like I said, it sucked all the air out of the room. Just I'm so happy to be on the road. Wink. To another Avengers movie again. I'm so happy to be back here. It's like I truly think because I'm feeling this right now, right? Of like, oh wow, we're on we are headed, we are barreling towards a new Avengers event movie. And I'm starting to think that like maybe this is why the MCU fandom started to eat itself. Is that like we got too addicted to this feeling as a fan
probably.
base. Because like even after Avengers 1, like it was like, okay, when we're heading towards Age of Ultron and we'll see everything comes together there, and then Infinity War, and then holy fuck balls, Endgame. I'm starting to think that part of the Surface Society. I'm starting to think that like maybe that was part of the problem. Is that like we've been chasing this dragon for too long, and that like being dropped back into, okay, now we're going to live in a new status quo for a little bit.
Yeah,
felt mundane, and I think that might be part of why people turned on the MCU the way they did.
Possible. I think
that's part of my
yeah. Like I think the average person not knowing how often a crisis event or team up happens,
Yeah.
Like
I mean, in fairness, Secret Wars, you've had 3 in since the 70s. Was it 70s Secret Wars started?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's the 70s.
So you had like 1 and 2 then, and then it was nothing. At least for Marvel, anyway.
Yeah, DC's my favorite reference for that.
I thought the original Secret Wars was in the 90s.
No, I'm pretty sure it's the 70s.
No. Was it?
Fact check us.
It's either 76 or like 79. It's something like that.
I'm going to say 78. That's my lock-in.
Oh, it was 84.
84. I was like, I knew it was like later than the 70s.
When was Secret Wars 2 out then? 86? There you go. And then obviously nothing until 10 years ago, which is crazy that I said that out loud. Fuck.
Yeah. Holy shit.
Well,
all right, moving on. Moving on. Moving on. Because I'll feel old. And that's a one-way street to CBC for me. I don't want to live in that with you.
But yeah, I think there's a real thing there. I mean, also, but the contrast of that, no, I guess not. I guess it is in service of that. Like, this is the longest we've ever had between Avengers movies, right?
Oh, for sure.
Was it 2019 to when's Doomsday out? Is it
2026? Christmas of this year.
Yeah, it's the longest. Yeah.
So it'll be 7.5 years, roughly. And
did we have Avengers 1 to Endgame in the same time span?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 2012 to 2019.
Which is part of that. We talked about in that Feige interview. We've gotten as much content in that time. Some of it's TV shows, but like there hasn't been an actual unifying movie since Endgame, which is fine and probably monetarily and narratively correct.
Though I feel like people miss the structure of having an Avengers movie every so often that phase. Yeah. Granted, if we had one every phase now, it would have completely backfired and everything. But just having those staples there, you knew everything was coming.
Yeah, I think hitting the zenith of like Marvel's popularity in the most constructed part of it, like Marvel was at its popularity height as they were locking in on, okay, we have a plan. This is how it's going to go, and we think this is going to work, right? And so now everyone's on board because this plan paid off in the most spectacular way possible. And they're like, okay, what's next? And they were like, we're just going to do shit. And they're like, no, but you had a plan. That's probably where the "you had a plan" narrative comes from as well.
Yeah. In part, for sure.
It's like we're gonna do Kang, and if we get Doom, we'll just swap them out. Because guy in a mask and a cloak is very easy to change. Save money on CGI because there's only one Doom.
There's probably a sociology doctorate like buried within all of these podcasts somewhere.
Yeah. Somewhere in there. But yeah. I think with that, I think that's all we got for Fantastic Four. This movie fucking rules. And I can't wait
This
to watch it.
This movie has a scene that I never thought I'd see in the MCU.
What's that?
A pregnant woman in labor kicking her trousers off. And that's just the shot. And I'm like,
yep.
Okay.
And no one says a thing.
No.
It just happens. And that's not a dig at MCU humor. Because as we all know, that's not real.
They also have special forceps for Ben.
Yeah.
She cuts the cord. That's adorable.
Yeah.
It was just the weirdest and / funniest scene for me. Funny, like I can't believe I'm actually watching this, but yeah. No.
I can't believe they put this to screen and it feels like this would happen in a comic book and this feels like they're taking it seriously. And because of that, I believe what's happening.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know?
The power of playing it straight, you know, like it's, again, I've been coming back to the phrase so often because it was just such a great moment when I was watching Light and Magic season 2, but it was the whole George Lucas, you know, dare to be cute, dare to be hokey, you know, and there's power. There's so much power and truth to that. Dare to be hokey.
Mm-hmm.
And perfect. But anyway, that's all I got for you guys. A little bit of housekeeping over here. First and foremost, Epic Confrontations Hyperspace Gauntlet 2 live in the afternoon of August 9th. 2 of the 3 people on your screen right now will be competing. And one of the people
only 2?
Screen,
yeah, only 2. I have a wedding.
Oh, Travis.
One of the 2 people on your screen will be competing, and one of the 2 people on your screen will win the Hyperspace Gauntlet.
I like the vote of confidence he has in me.
Yeah, me too.
Mathematically, only one of us could win.
I mean, it could be a tie.
No, it will just go until somebody loses.
You just go for rounds for the next 3 years. The live stream never ends.
Obviously, I'm talking about myself winning, Mitch. Like, obviously, like I'm cutting a fucking promo.
Jarod, do you really fucking think no one got that?
No,
yeah,
but
don't you get the symbolism of it all? You're Sisyphus. You're Sisyphus, Jarod.
I know I'm Sisyphus. It's been made abundantly clear that I am in a Sisyphusian tale.
You put yourself there. There's no one to blame.
I know. I will.
You know, yeah, good. Yeah, that's good.
I will get eventually the boulder will go away. He said,
eventually the boulder will turn into a belt.
Yeah, I was about to say, knowing full well that if I get what I want, if that monkey's paw begins to close, the boulder gets infinitely heavier if I become the champion. But we'll see.
It'll never happen.
I'm going to be Epic Confrontation singles champion in the world. By hook or by crook, I will win.
You heard it here first, folks. He's stealing the belts.
No, my obsession with honor and such things would never allow me to do it. I have to win clean. I have to win clean. I have advocated for other people to get points in matches because I want to win clean. I have not challenged Eli on bullshit questions because I want to win clean. It's all about honor, man. If I don't win with my honor, what's the point in winning?
I agree. I do agree.
That's why that's the babyface part of me, is that I have to win like that. But like I said, August 9th, Hyperspace Gauntlet 2. be there, be square. It's going to be a hell of a gauntlet. It's going to be a hell of a tournament. I'm very excited to see how it goes. I'm counting the
It's gonna be a
seconds.
barn burner.
Huh? No, I'm not. I refuse to say those words anymore. I refuse to say those words anymore. Because Mitch pointed out on Pro and Noob that every time I've said it's going to be a barn burner, that I have lost. So I will not call the Hyperspace Gauntlet that. But tune into that. Obviously, Mitch and I have Pro and Noob on his channel, the Mitch 619 channel. It's in the description in every episode. So go check that out. We are halfway through Dan to Dan season 2. Mitch
We're
made
about to start the Evil Eye arc because I made a boo-boo.
What?
Evil Eye starts next week.
This wasn't the Evil Eye arc?
No, it's Cursed House. I blame the movie for it because they called the movie Evil Eye. But Evil Eye starts next week.
Okay, well, then that. Cool. Either way, Dan to Dan, Pro and Noob. And while you're watching the Dan to Dan and you're waiting for that to update weekly now for the first time, you can check out our seasons on Neon Genesis Evangelion, Cowboy Bebop, Clone Wars Micro Series, and our one-off Princess Mononoke episode. So lots to check out over there. Ionized Bastards is all wrapped up. We're going to be doing a end of season discussion here soon on the All Remaining Systems channel. That will be coming very soon, as well as the beginning of the next All Remaining Systems RPG series, which is going to be set during the High Republic. Details, cast, and name of that show forthcoming in the aforementioned live stream. That's all the... Oh, and Versus Series, we're recording the next episode of that on Wednesday, so stay tuned for Darth Maul versus Kit Fisto, coming to a Patreon $5 tier near you. More about the Patreon in a moment. Mitch, where can the lovely people find you, my friend?
Exactly where Jarod just told you, and on the little wherever it is on the fucking screen, on the link tree. You can find me there.
Bitchin'. Travis, where can the lovely people find you, sir?
They can find me back here this week, probably talking the only thing I saw at San Diego Comic-Con, which was Spider-Man Magic the Gathering cards.
We might end up just talking about San Diego next week because there was so little news that I feel
That's
to talk
fine.
about that I'm like, yeah, I can wait. Because I was like, oh, if there's anything crazy, like we got to talk about it this week. But I'm
Yeah.
like,
But again, the only thing was like that Marvel had a panel. They showed, or not Marvel, Magic had a panel. They showed 2 Avatar cards and then a buttload of Spider-Man stuff.
I have not watched it yet. I've seen some clips. I got to go back and watch the full George Lucas panel. The clips I've seen have been fucking amazing. Most of it because it's hearing Queen Latifah say names you never would have thought you'd hear Queen Latifah say. Like hearing her be like, Doug Chang! It's like, what world are we living in? Where's the fucking... But yeah, so KNR Acolyte 1 year later coming soon as well. Got to work out the scheduling on that, but that's coming as well. Anything else for you, Travis? I forgot to mention that once I brought up George.
No, Jarod.
Yes.
Where?
You guys can find me on Instagram and Blue Sky at Dark Jedi 2552. And you can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Blue Sky, Instagram, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts, and on our website, nerdacademypodcast.com, where if you're feeling generous, you can donate to our Patreon. It didn't play.
Hey, give me $1.
There we go. Thank you, guy who plays a hobo at Pittsburgh Renaissance Festival. As I mentioned earlier, Versus Series is coming back. You get access to that back catalog at the $5 tier, and at the $10 tier, you get a shout at the end of every episode. So thank you to Brennan Marr from Page Turners They Were Not, who will also be competing in the Hyperspace Gauntlet. Paco and Ray Clausen, thank you all very much for your support. There is something very exciting coming soon to the Nerd Academy podcast YouTube channel, or to the feed in general, that patrons will be getting a very special first look at very, very soon. So stay tuned over there. Be sure to donate at the $5 tier to get access to all of our Patreon exclusive content, the Versus series, Heroic History 101, the back catalog of Nerd Academy Movie Club. Yeah, lots of cool stuff coming to the channel very, very soon. So thank you all so very much for tuning in and joining us. Fantastic Four fucking rules. And we'll see you guys next time. Class dismissed.
Stop! Move away from the cookie jar!